Welcome back to Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles. My name is Gleb, and you can follow me on Instagram at GlebLapham.
My name is Mitch. You can follow me on or at Meet to the Beach on Instagram.
And you can follow the podcast on Instagram at tdtmotorcycles, and you can also shoot us an email at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com. Feel free to email us your comments, questions, feedback, topic ideas, ride stories, or anything like that. We did get a few emails from a couple of our listeners, and I think we'll just get to both of them next episode and kind of do like a little mailbag section.
Yeah.
Or we'll maybe talk a bit at least about one of them towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, I think we're starting to build up a backlog.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of a backlog, but we always love hearing from you guys, and yeah, we just haven't got a chance to read through them for a second. So we'll get to them, but Dan, we got Don and Nicole, and there was one more.
Was it
Taylor?
Taylor, okay,
yeah. So
okay.
they all sent us some photos of their bikes or some updates about previous emails. So we're gonna talk about it a little later on the next episode.
Yeah.
But today we're gonna be talking about two bikes that I got to ride over the last couple of weeks. One of which is a brand that we've been talking about wanting to ride for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and making a lot of jokes about.
And that is a Harley. If you follow us on Instagram, I did post some pictures of it. It was a 2020 Harley Street Bob. I got to ride it at my local Harley Davidson dealer up near where I live. It's Golden Spike Harley Davidson, and thank you so much for Jason over there for setting me up on that bike. I gave him the podcast info, so if he's listening to this, thanks, Jason.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It was pretty fun to ride. They had like a little demo and food truck day, so I decided to pop over there and give it a shot. Kind of perused through their showroom. They had lots of different models, and
that was like an event Harley was holding, so like other dealerships were doing something similar. Like I could have gone to one down by me.
Yeah. Like all the ones, at least here in Utah, we're doing it all on that same day. Mm-hmm. So I just went to one that's only like 10 minutes from my house, so it was pretty convenient. And what's nice is there's a nice kind of twisty-ish road just by the dealership that I could take that bike out on. So it was a pretty solid test drive. I think I rode it for about, I don't know, maybe half an hour or so.
Okay.
Parked it at a church parking lot, took some pictures of it, looked around and stuff. And first thing I will say, like, it was a pretty looking bike. I'll throw a picture up on here for folks that are watching on YouTube. But it was like a bright red color with some I think it was dark, like blacked out pipes and kind of engine on the side and stuff. And it looked pretty good. It was a nice looking bike. I think pretty much a lot of the Harleys just have like that still classic aesthetic, except for maybe like the Pan America or the Nightster. So picture a Harley with the big V-twin right there under the tank. That's what this bike looked like.
Yeah.
It was it didn't have any custom pipes on it or anything like that, so it was a good volume. It wasn't like crazy overbearingly loud, but it wasn't like super quiet or anything like that. It sounded like, you know, like kind of like in the Indians and stuff like that. So nice.
Well, it's like a stock exhaust, so it's
going
to come like with a certain dB output and all that. Yep. So
it was nice and growly, had a pretty good exhaust note, and it felt it was a lot of fun. The biggest thing I noticed when I first got on it and set off from the dealership is the torque. So it's got 110 pound-feet of torque, and that's pretty much what Harleys are known for, is having very big torquey engines. Not a lot of horsepower, but a whole lot of torque, and that thing just, you can feel it.
Yeah.
It just takes off, it pushes you back, and wants to like pull away from you. So you kind of got to hang on a little bit, and that part was really fun.
That's cool. Was that like the only bike they had for you available at the time, or was there an option? Did you have like any options, or?
I didn't really ask him. I just kind of he was the kind of first sales guy that kind of talked to me.
So I walked in as like, this is my first time at a Harley dealership.
Yeah, I just basically told him like, I've never really ridden a Harley before, so I wouldn't mind something kind of middle of the road, kind of like whatever is most like popular or kind of model that people kind of shoot for when they do buy a Harley. Mm-hmm. And I guess the Street Bob is kind of like one of those models. It's not crazy expensive, not their beginner bike, kind of right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And Harley's got a whole lot of different models to choose from. Mm-hmm. Most of them, pretty much all of them, are V-twins. And a lot of them kind of have that similar cruiser styling and stuff, except the Pan America. That's the only one that's, I would say, is quite different than all the other ones. But it was an air-cooled engine, so it was one of their like older kind of. I don't know if it's older style, but like it's air cooled, unlike the Nightster or the Pan America, which are liquid cooled engines.
Right. Yeah.
It had the Milwaukee 8107 V twin. It's 1,746 cc.
Damn.
Had about 85 horsepower and 110 pound-feet of torque. So that's where you really start to feel is in that torque figure, even though it is a pretty hefty bike at 655 pounds. So it is a hefty bike, but all that weight is down low, so it doesn't feel like super top heavy. It wasn't too hard to get it going or get it off the kickstand.
Yeah.
One of the things I did notice was, you know how our bikes, if you put the kickstand down in first gear,
right,
it'll shut the bike off.
Okay.
It did not do that.
Really?
Nope. Just stayed on. I was like, oh, that's different.
That doesn't sound right.
And also the blinkers, instead of just a toggle on the left handlebar, there was an arrow on each handlebar to press, which was very...
I hate that.
It wasn't confusing, but it was like, took me a good minute to get used to. I was like, wait, what?
No.
So I have to like churn on both, and I
wonder how that's like on all of them. I've never heard of that.
Apparently it's, I don't know if it's on all of them, but it's on the...
That's a Harley thing.
It's a Harley thing, yeah. And then, so that took a little bit of time to get used to. But beyond that, this was a pretty bare bones bike.
Yeah.
It did not have, it didn't have a quick shift. It didn't have any riding modes.
No wireless key fob.
It did have a wireless key fob.
Oh, the worst piece of tech to include on a bike.
So it had a key fob, which I found kind of funny because everything else about it was pretty bare bones.
That's so weird.
Like, the clutch was a little bit heavier. Not terrible though.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel like I had to like really, really work for it.
Yeah.
Or any of the controls, pretty much all the controls felt pretty solid. It just took me a minute to get used to where they are because it's a cruiser versus so my feet were very far forward.
Yeah.
And I did notice to switch it from like first to second gear, I really had to like flick my foot up.
Okay.
Like pretty high.
You need to manhandle it a little bit.
And then, but the rest of the gears is just a little flick. It's just first to second. It feels like there's a lot of travel in that stick. But it was easy to find neutral on it. So
yeah. I always feel, I think I kind of feel that a little bit on my Scrambler, like going from first to second. I think that's like it's not like harder necessarily. It's just like I feel the resistance more, like in like not like pushing back, but like just like the click.
Yeah. It's just like a little bit more travel. And this one, it was very noticeable. But like all the controls felt good. Like there wasn't any like weirdness or anything like that. Nothing felt too clunky. And the throttle, I did like the throttle mapping. It felt pretty like, I wouldn't say linear, but it had a nice like power curve to it. So you lay on the throttle and you can kind of feel like kind of ramp up nice and predictably.
I like that.
With it being like lower to the ground and stuff, it wasn't too hard to ride. Like all that power, like felt pretty good. Felt pretty planted. It definitely did not feel as flickable as like my bike.
Okay.
But it's also like 100 pounds more than my bike. More than 100 pounds more than my bike. So and it's a cruiser, which are not flickable in general. Not quite as like agile feeling in general.
Yeah.
But overall, I still enjoyed it. Some of the other specs, I did have a 49 millimeter telescopic fork up front and adjustable preload in the back.
Okay.
So pretty bare bones.
Interesting.
But
so that seems, it just instantly makes me think of like, I'm looking at this like the 1746 cc, like 1700 and a half.
Yeah.
And like, but then 85 horsepower.
Not a lot of horsepower
for that size of cc. Like the ratio there, it seems wild to me.
Yeah.
Because with my 1200 and I get, I think like 91 or 80
horsepower.
So something like that. 89, 8, something like that. It's like, so the ratio is a lot tighter there,
But you definitely feel the torque.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of torque.
And I thought the gears were pretty well spaced out too. Like going from first to second, it didn't have a tachometer on it. Now we'll get to the dash here in a little bit, but it didn't have a tachometer on it, but it does have a rev limiter. So when I did kind of try to pull, like in first gear to try to kind of like, get it up to speed and stuff, I did notice it started cutting power at a certain point. I don't know when, because you can't change it to show the your like RPMs, but it doesn't have like a red line or anything like that. And that screen was probably my biggest kind of gripe about the bike. It wasn't annoying. Like, it showed you all the info you needed.
That's true.
But it just does not fit that bike. So what it was, and I'll post a picture of it for those watching on YouTube, but for those listening, I'll describe it. It's basically, it looks like a Casio watch strapped onto the handlebar. It's just a very small, narrow, I think maybe 3-inch wide LCD, like the black and white Casio watch LCD display on the handlebar.
I think I had a meat thermometer who had a display, like that kind of display that was bigger or about that same size.
Pretty much, I think so too. Which I think it's an option. Either it's an option or there is an option to get a proper like analog dial. And a few of the other Harley models that I've seen on there did have that as well, which I was like, yeah, that's probably like, it just doesn't fit the kind of classic look of the bike.
Yeah.
Like I've seen some of the other Harleys have, where they have like the big gauges either right on the fuel tank or right up front, which I think looks 100% better.
That would look like on that bike. Like, like if you're listening, if you look up the Harley Street Bob, like just an image of it, like it looks classic, and everything. And then just having like that weird little thing there. Like I think I can see why, like from a stand back, it's just like, oh, look how minimal it is.
I think that's what they're kind of going for, like a very old school look where you have like no gauges, no nothing, and you're just kind of playing a guessing game, but it's still something to look for, because it does kind of like, if you're looking from the side, you can't tell that it's on the handlebar, but if you're looking at it, then I mean it's there.
It seems like they could, or if somebody wanted to, they could have put on like a dial.
I think that's an option. Either that's an option or this is the option. I didn't ask which one it was.
Yeah.
But I've seen for example, for the 2025 Street Bob, Harley's website does show it with a proper gauge right up front in the middle.
Yeah.
So that was probably like my least favorite thing about that bike. But overall, I enjoyed how it rode. It rode pretty well. Like I said, the power delivery was pretty smooth and pretty good on it. And there was no additional bells and whistles on this bike, which brings me to kind of another point, is that this was not a cheap bike. This was I think the dealership that I rode it at has it listed for about $13,000 or $1,250 or something like that. $12,500, which to me sounds like a lot for a 5-year-old bike. It only has 3,000 miles on it, but it's still a 5-year-old bike, and it's super bare bones.
Yeah, but that's what it's priced at for its market.
Yeah,
I think
but apparently, I mean, people would pay premium for a Harley,
right? Yeah,
and I personally don't quite get it.
Okay.
Because I don't think I would buy one. Maybe if it was like, $5,000 cheaper or $8,000 cheaper. But I'm also not a cruiser guy, and that's pretty much all they sell.
Right.
So I don't know if I would personally buy one, especially not for that price. Especially considering I was like thinking in my head, comparing to some other V twins like the Indians or the.
If you're buying new,
I'm buying new, like the Indian or like the Kawasaki Vulcan, or some of the
even
other
new used,
some of the other like V twins available, where those have, for the same price, brand new, you get different riding modes, you get like ton more features, maybe phone connectivity and things like that, which I get not everybody wants.
Yeah,
but it's still kind of crazy to me that there's such a big difference in price for Harleys. They definitely charge a premium for their bikes, even though they don't quite have the features that me and you, for example, are used to with our bikes or the bikes that we've ridden before.
Yeah.
But some people like that. Some people like just not having any kind of electronics, not anything. I'm not even sure if it had ABS on it, to be honest. But But I see the appeal if you just want something super bare bones, super basic.
Yeah.
The classic American like cruiser bike.
Do you know what kind of brakes it had by chance? Did it happen to have like the old school disc brake, or was it all like caliper?
I mean, yeah, I had regular disc brakes like our bikes. It
just I'm talking about like the drum brake. Sorry, I mean like
no, I did not have a drum brake. No.
You've ever seen those old motorcycles that have those? Ooh, no,
they had disc brakes front and back. I don't remember if they were a specific brand or not. If they were just like Harley.
Oh
brakes.
That.
But single disc up front, single disc in the back.
Okay.
So I
just standard or
you're just standard, which that's the other thing. Like most bikes I feel like, especially with that big of an engine, you also have dual brakes. But this one just had a single one on one side.
Okay, yeah. So
which was kind of another difference.
But how much was it again? Did you mention? Sorry.
It was like 12,500 or 13,000 or something like that. Ooh. And this is used, mind you. I mean, you can get a brand new, like, I don't even know what kind of compares to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm thinking of it, I guess, in like what's the most efficient bike for like power specs or anything, you know? Yeah. But like, or I'm not coming from it, like I'm looking for that, but like, So, but yeah, pulling back, if you don't, there's an experience that Harley has apparently that I haven't yet been able to experience. Yeah. You got to, so.
I got to. I definitely wouldn't mind trying out a few different models. Yeah. I wouldn't mind trying out the Nightster because that one has their liquid cooled V-twin and it's got like I didn't look at it too closely, but I did notice it had like a TFT, like a round TFT on it, kind of like the Indians have. Yeah. And then also the Pan America, I wouldn't mind trying that out as well. So it's got a lot more features. But then looking at like their other bikes in the showroom, I mean, they had a whole different models, and I can't remember, like the Softail, the Street Bob, the Road Glide, or
Road King, all
those different ones.
They're too similarly named for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I feel the same way about Indian because they have like the Scout, the Chief Scout, the Chieftain, and like all these other different ones. Yeah, I think most bikes it's kind of hard to keep up with some of the model names, especially if it's not a brand new kind of ride.
Well, I mean, look at me. I have trouble remembering like simple letters and and numbers back and saying that out properly.
But I remember like seeing a whole bunch of them. Like some of them did have the nice round like analog gauges on them, which I was like, oh yeah, I like that much better. And then you look at the big Road Glides, and they have a whole ass screen in the front. I don't know if they have Apple CarPlay or not. I wish I should have asked.
Should have asked.
But they have the big screen. They have the speakers. They have like all the other stuff. I'm assuming they have. I don't know. I'm assuming they have riding modes and all sorts of different stuff. They got the bags on them, and yeah. So there's a lot of different models, but most of them retain that classic Harley look, where it looks like old school bike, but it's new. It's old school but new.
Yeah,
and I think I like that, and I see the appeal of why people want bikes. Yeah, want to ride Harleys is because they kind of offer that classic cruiser experience. That I mean, there are other brands that offer it, but with them being kind of very bare bones.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's the appeal.
Yeah,
it doesn't quite appeal to me, but
you get it.
I get it.
That's the same kind of sentiment that I mean, like when I talked about like my time riding like that big Indian, one of the Chiefs they had, is like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually pretty pleasant. Like it's not necessarily what I'm looking for for my money for a bike, but I get it, and it is nice.
Yeah. That's kind of
how it's pleasant.
Felt about the Harley.
Yeah.
If I were to get like a cruiser, an American brand cruiser, I would probably go with the Indians just because I kind of liked.
I would need to ride them again and more closely back to back.
But in general, I don't think I would get a cruiser just because it's not the type of bike that I really.
I think it'd be fun to have like a type of one of every type of bike. But,
that's true. If I had the means, I would get one of each.
But at the same time, it's just like
it wouldn't be my priority or.
Well, the biggest problem I'm having is as someone who hasn't ridden one, is I would have to I'd have to go talk or go ride one.
Yeah,
but just like the physical specs and data of this bike for that price is killing me. Yeah, when I'm thinking about it in the sense of like I want like one type of every bike.
Yeah.
So if an American cruiser is its own category. So
pretty much. And I kind of like I said, it was cool to see it. It was cool to ride it. It was cool to kind of feel that torque is really sweet.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I need to try one.
It just kind of, like I said, it wants to if you're not holding on to it, it feels like it's just going to drive away right away without you. So you kind of have to get a good grip on the handlebars and get going. Yeah. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, I don't know why our video kind of keeps kind of slowing down here and there. So I don't know why.
Homeland Security is putting a cell blocker up.
Maybe. So if you're watching on YouTube, I apologize about that. Hopefully it's not in the final video. Maybe it's just the software.
Yeah.
But If it is, sorry, I'm not going to fix it in mid-podcast. So.
Yeah, we're not starting over.
No, we're not starting over. Okay, so that was the Harley experience.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I wouldn't mind trying out a few more. I did leave our podcast info with
Jason.
The guy that was helping me out, and he said he'd be open to letting me know if they get a Pan America in stock to come check it out in person and give it take it for a spin potentially. So
yeah,
I think that would be that'd be really cool to try and ride, because the Pan America, I mean, we both have adventure bikes,
right,
and stuff. So I would love to try out the American,
and that's
adventure
more
bike,
right? And that's kind of what I'm thinking too is clearly we're drawn to these are kind of bikes, for one reason or another.
Yep.
But yeah, I do want to go try a Pan America in the context of what we know of motorcycles for what we like.
Exactly.
So yeah,
and I wouldn't mind trying out the Nightster as well.
Yeah,
because that was kind of a little bit more modern, kind of like what me and you will typically ride. Yeah. So that's what I kind of want to.
If I got the chance, to give the show a take on one of Harley's entry level bikes, they're so maybe an iron or street iron or whatever. Then go to up to something like a Nightster, and then into the giant cruisers, and then a mid-sized cruiser, and then and then to the Pan America. Yeah. Because I think having a taste of all the different sizes they carry,
it'd be really cool,
or types they carry.
I wouldn't mind going to one of their dealerships again if
once I'm better.
And just kind of sitting on the different bikes that they have and trying it out. And then maybe taking another one for a spin, maybe one of their bigger ones or whatnot, which I think would be pretty cool.
That would be really cool.
And then the other bike I'd like to talk about is a complete opposite of a Harley.
For this one, I'll let you go off, but
So complete opposite of a Harley, and I rode it probably just a couple hours ago before we're recording this. Once again, it was thanks to our good friends over at Eurosports Utah, specifically Morgan. He set me up on a 2025 Ducati Multistrada V2S.
Wow.
So it is, me and you both rode the V4S before. So this is the step down from that. It's an 890cc V-twin, they're 90-degree V-twin Multistrada. Yeah. So it's the baby Multistrada. Well, baby is a loose term, but it's a smaller Multistrada. And first impression was how light it felt. Really? So it's about 30 pounds. It's almost 40. About 35, almost 40 pounds lighter than my bike. Okay. And I can definitely feel that difference just sitting on it.
That was my first question was how do you compare, and moving into that, how it feels, I guess, is what I was going for, was comparing it to when we've talked about the V4S in the past, and how would you compare the V4S ride to the V2S ride?
I personally liked the V2 more.
Really?
Yeah, the V2S, and that's largely because it felt so much more nimble compared to the V4S, because it's lighter. Yeah. It's lighter, it feels nimble, it's easier to maneuver it even at slower speeds. Yeah. The V4S, I mean, that bike is crazy fun. It's insanely fun, and
we licked the ground that bike walked on, or rolled on when we rode it. So
I absolutely love the V4S, but I like the V2S even more.
It's kind of our take on would you say it's kind of our take on the street twin to the speed twin? Having not ridden a speed twin, because but still very powerful.
Yep, exactly. And I really enjoyed it, but. I mean, the V4S, you definitely feel the power a lot more and stuff, but it's also a heavier bike, so it's not that big of a difference. Yeah. But the V2S felt closer how my Tiger feels, except even more nimble. Yeah. I will say the Tiger 900 is a pretty nimble bike. This one felt even more so. Granted, kind of big key differences. My bike has a 21-inch front wheel, and it's got a off-road tires on it, and all the off-road goodies. Yeah. This bike had a 19-inch front wheel and I think a 17-inch rear. So definitely a road bike, a road-going adventure bike. It did have an enduro riding mode for off-road riding and stuff. Did not have off-road wheels, and it had cast aluminum, or did not have off-road tires. It had cast aluminum wheels instead of spoked wheels. The general stuff that you would expect from a more road touring bike. But Morgan did let me know that you can spec it out with like crash bars. You can spec it out with spoked wheels.
Oh, yeah.
And all the kind of like more off-road ready goodies, which is nice to hear. And I'm wondering if they'll ever release like a specific rally version, kind of like they did with the V4S.
Oh, yeah.
Where it comes like pre-equipped with the protection, the tires, the wheels, and maybe like an extra riding mode that lets you kind of shut everything off. But I really enjoyed the bike. And one of my favorite things that Ducati does, and it's the same case on pretty much all of their bikes, is they let you fine-tune a lot of the settings of the bike to what you want them to be. For example,
crazy
you can
how
change
you can
the amount of traction control it has. It has like a scale of 1 to 10 or somewhere, it's got a scale for like the traction control, the engine braking, the wheelie control, the all the different settings. And I really like that because you can kind of trim it to how you want it to be.
Yeah.
Versus where like my bike, where it's just like road, off-road, sport, rain, and that's it.
Well, and yours, because doesn't the step up from the version of your bike have like an extra like programmable like riding mode?
It does have a programmable riding mode, and it does have the off-road pro mode, which you can kind of customize yourself, but it doesn't have like a sliding scale of what you can pick.
Yeah.
It's just kind of on or off, or just the different like modes for each individual like parameter, but it doesn't have like a 1 through 10 scale. And I've seen that, like I've seen it on the Ducatis. The Desert X has it. The V4 has it. Even their street sports bikes have it, like the Panigale, and never rode the Street Fighter, but I'm assuming it has it too. And then I've seen the same thing, like our friend Emerson's KTM has that similar kind of sliding like setting where you can change the different parameters, or like the Husqvarna has it as well. The Norden 901 has it. And I think the Africa Twin had it as well to a certain degree. I don't know if it allowed you the traction control, but it did have like settings for like engine braking and things like that. I think theirs just went through like 1 through 4.
Yeah, I'm having a rough time. Like I know once or twice I went to go play with like the programmable rider mode on my bike. Yeah, I can't really recall how it works on like that nice little TFT. Yeah, right there. So you have to see how. That way I can look at it and I want to see like how adjustable it is comparatively to So yeah, it had all the different riding modes. It had sport, wet, road, urban, and then enduro. Okay. So just kind of, did I say touring? I don't.
One more time. Yeah. Sport, touring, urban, rain or wet, and enduro. Oh, okay. And you can probably kind of guess what each mode is for. Yeah. And in each of those modes, you can adjust those individual parameters too, which I think is what's really cool about it.
Yeah, and that's the V4S that can do that. The V2S. Sorry, right, yeah. V2S.
Well, no, I think the V2 does it as well. I rode the V2S specifically, and that one had electronic suspension.
That's right, okay.
It. So on electronic suspension, you can adjust...
you can adjust the modes, but on the S, you also have the electronically adjustable.
The suspension, yeah. So the non-S, just the regular V2, has manually adjustable suspension, so it's got the twist dials on top of the forks. Huh. The V2S has electronically adjustable suspension, both front and back, so it's got the auto-leveling preload. That's what Morgan set it up for me as, so it just kind of levels the bike to you. Yeah. But you can also change it to be like one rider, 2 up riding, rider and luggage, or 2 up and luggage, or auto. And then for the suspension, you have 3 different modes, and it was dynamic, comfort, and low traction, or low something. I can't remember the third mode, but there's 3 different modes for the suspension as well. And it kind of changes how basically it adjusts the preload and the damping for you. Right. Which I thought was pretty neat. Electronic suspension, I will say it's kind of nice just having to be able to change it dynamically as you're riding versus having to set it prior to like a ride, manual adjustable stuff on my bike or your bike. But I can also see like the downside of it being one more component that can potentially fail, and then it's kind of I'm assuming it's stuck in whatever default setting if it does.
And then you're going to be dealing with warranty or whatever.
Or electronics and things like that.
Electronics can easily turn into a nightmare.
Yeah. So it's kind of a bit of a trade-off, but I think it's cool that it does have that. Other things it has is like a 5-inch TFT, and Ducati TFT is nice. It shows a lot of different information. You can kind of scroll through it to show different screens.
Yeah.
It was a little laggy on the demo. I'm not sure if it's just a demo thing or maybe it's because the bike only had like 6 miles on it. So it was basically brand new, like just recently set up.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's just like a little demo, like software thing or whatnot where it felt a little bit. I would have liked to see a little bit more responsive, the TFT.
Yeah.
Kind of like the BMW screens that always seem to be insanely good.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the only thing. And then, beyond that, it had a couple of like hard luggage on the sides of it already pre-installed. I'm sure that's an option. And I did like that the windscreen can be adjusted. Just one hand. It has like one big giant handle. You can kind of pull it up and down so get more or less wind on you. And it was fairly comfortable. I thought the seat was nice and comfortable. It had like a nice scoop kind of on the back. So you kind of like really scooch in there and have a little bit of extra support.
Yeah.
And I like that as well. Huh. But riding it was a blast. I had such a fun time riding it because, like I said, the biggest thing I noticed is how nimble the bike felt. And I had it I had it in touring mode starting off, and then on the way back to the dealership, I changed it to sport mode, and you can definitely feel the difference. The sport mode, it's very easy to feel that front end getting lighter and lighter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure this thing can be like, you can lift that front wheel off pretty easy. So it's got a lot of
that Ducati experience.
Yep. It's definitely there. And just like a lot of Ducatis, it does have like the Ducati character where it just feels like not quite super smooth, but not like rough around the edges. Not like
surgically refined.
Yeah, but not surgically refined either. And it was kind of like a nice in between. So it was a little vibey, a little poppy here and there and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was also, like I said, like this bike was recently assembled. So as you keep riding, as it gets like 1,000+ miles, I'm sure it'll kind of feel a little bit smoother and
right. And that's the other,
it's brand new.
Yeah.
Like literally I was the first person to ride it outside of their shop tech.
Yeah. And considering that too, like we've only ever ridden, I think, like close to new, like for the demos and stuff for Ducati. I really actually wouldn't mind like getting on like a what do you call it? Like a worked in or broken in used one to see to get that what's this bike like when it's had some time off the factory line.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be pretty interesting to see that as well.
Yeah.
Some of the other specs for this bike include, so like I said, it's an 890cc bike, 115 horsepower, so it's definitely more power than my bike.
Right.
69 pound-feet of torque. I think mine's roughly around the same, maybe a little bit more or less. I think it's close enough. Definitely more power than my bike, though.
Yeah.
And 445 pounds without fuel, which you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it. It's a light bike, and it feels like really planted and really easy to maneuver.
Yeah. Like
low speed or high speed, like it just gets up and goes.
See, I've never had the opportunity to ride those like V2s yet, so I need to get on one.
I think they said they have. We need to swing by there next weekend because they said they might have a V2 demo, a Panigale V2 demo.
Ooh, okay.
Which would be really sweet to check out. That would be sweet,
yeah.
And then they might have also the 690 Hyper Motard, like the Supermoto bike as well. So we'll have to swing by there again and see what they got. That's at least what Morgan told me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed riding the V2S. Would I trade my Tiger for it? Probably not, unless they had like an enduro.
Because you love your bike.
I love my bike.
Yeah,
I love it a lot. Unless they have like an enduro or like a rally trim, like an off-road ready trim.
Yeah,
I think it would be one that I would consider, but not direct not a direct trade. And the biggest thing I think, if you do take it like off-road, which I don't know how I'd feel about personally, but it does have like kind of like on my bike where the tank kind of protrudes out a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's
like
for that fairing.
Out.
Yeah.
That's how my bike is too. So I'm like, if this thing were to tip over, that tank is 100% hitting
Oh yeah.
the ground or something on the ground, especially with just the stock plastic with the stock plastic handguards on it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my big thing. I immediately notice like, okay, if this falls off road, you're gonna notice that it hit.
Yeah.
It hit something. But they also don't have like a rally specific mode. But you can't.
Yeah.
Morgan said you can get like engine guards, tank guards, and all the protection accessories for it.
Yeah. I was gonna say they probably have like stuff for that. They just don't have like a rally trim.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know, which honestly, like, it would be interesting if they added one, because like because this bike's MSRP is starting at
19,000
or 19, almost 20,000, basically. Oh no, 19,300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
19,300.
Yeah, basically.
Not a cheap bike.
No, not at all. But you know, then like the regular V2. So if you're not really concerned about all that extra S stuff,
Yeah.
you know, I think that one starts at like 16 grand.
Okay.
MSRP.
It's a little better.
Yeah. So that's a little more comparative to like your bike. It's,
yeah,
you know, this V2S,
definitely.
like this S trim is like a nice trim. Like
It's the big dog trim. It's the trim that has all the bells and whistles.
it's the dentist trim.
Yep. All the extra stuff and things where the V2 is just the V2.
Yeah. And so that seems more like comparable to like the competitors for like what they offer.
They do. I wrote a red one, but I'm just looking on their website here. They do have this kind
nice
of
green.
matte green.
Oh, I saw that.
And that looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And I also love, like, it's a good looking bike. Like that single sided kind of rear shock is versus like in the middle of the bike. It's kind of off to the side a little bit.
If I was in
it's a very aggressive looking bike.
Yeah, it does have like that Ducati look up front.
100%.
No, if I was like in the market for the V2 or V2/VS, that green is 100% what I want.
Yep, that's what I would get as well. It looks so good.
Yep, it's awesome. But no, like what I like about Ducatis, what they offer also, just really quick, is, you know, we look at the V2S. There's also the Desert X for starting at 18 grand.
And that's
its own, like, it's
own
different
separate category.
Yeah, but it's a comparable, you know, like this thing's claiming to do like, you know, V2 touring. It's like you can equip it out for off-road if you want.
Yeah.
This is made for that, you know.
Exactly.
And so it's like that looks like an awesome touring ADV bike, like some light off-road if you want to.
Yeah.
But for like adventuring and, you know, rallying.
Yeah, and I think that's the big difference is like, I mean, the spec wise, like power wise, they're very similar.
Yeah. It's just what you want out of your bike.
The V2S is going to be like your road going, adventure touring road bike,
and maybe do some like light off road if you want to.
Maybe light off road, and you put a little beefier tires on it if you spec it out with like the spoked wheels and stuff.
I mean,
but if you want to do like full on hardcore like off-roading with harder trails and stuff, that's where the Desert X comes in.
I just love that Ducati offers like that big of range.
Yeah, and it's nice because like sure, with like Triumph you get like the Tiger 900 GT or the Tiger 900 Rally.
Yeah.
But it's still a same-ish bike.
Yeah.
It just comes with different wheels and different kind of like protection on it, but the engine mapping and stuff is the same between the two.
Right.
But here you get two very different bikes within the same price for two very different scenarios.
It's just two different doors you can pick to go through.
And from what I hear, the Desert X is pretty phenomenal off-road, and it's a dope-looking bike.
I mean, if someone handed me a blank check and it's like in exchange, like go purchase like an adventure style or a touring Ducati bike, so
the Desert X
that restricts me to these like two for around 20 grand.
Yeah.
These are the options, and if I want it off road, I want the Desert X.
Yeah, and
if I'm permanently broken or something down my line physically, then maybe I'd switch to something like that, or I can't do any more off roading. But
yeah, I really liked it. It was a really fun bike to ride.
It's a good looking bike.
It was a really good looking bike, and especially in that, I like the green, but also the classic like Ducati red.
Yeah,
so good too.
Yeah,
I
would just be getting the green.
Do you have any specific questions?
Let me go back to our card here. These are just like kind of conversation questions that we've already gone over, like not direct question answer, but the topic. I mean, you answered it really just like with like the comparison from the V4S. Like you're getting this amazing, very expensive bike, in its own little cat like market. But then this is something that's a little more approachable, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I don't know, like where the customer difference between the V4 and the V2 will be,
or even like the V2 and the V2S. There's a difference, you know,
because like the V4S is almost $10,000 more than the V2S.
Well, that's almost up to like, and with all this specs and stuff, you're probably looking at 30 to 40, 35, 40 grand after taxes, your out the door price and accessories.
So it's quite the big price difference between the two bikes. And the V4, I will say, like, the seat is more comfortable. You do feel a lot more power. You got more wind protection. You got more, I think you got more bells and whistles on it too. Like, you got the blind spot monitor, and you got I think the newest one has the adaptive cruise control, like the radar in the front for additional safety. And with the V4, they do have a rally spec model that does come with spoked wheels, engine guard, engine protection, like all the different things. But it's also $30,000.
Yeah.
This is $10,000 or more cheaper, and you can still probably do everything that the V4 can with a much lighter bike.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the difference. Oh, I guess the big difference would be the service intervals.
Oh, yeah.
So the V4 has a 36,000 mile valve check service interval, and I think it's a 10,000 mile oil change interval.
Okay, yeah.
This one has a 9,000 mile oil change interval, so it's still there, but only an 18,000 mile.
Which
valve
still
check.
is not.
Which is still not bad. It's better than my bike.
I mean, I'd say that's comparable from like mine at every 20,000.
Yeah.
But then like my oil changes, it's 10,000.
Yeah.
So it's
pretty close, but the V4 does have that big advantage on the valve check.
Yeah.
Which is an expensive service, and I think on Ducati it's going to be even more.
You might, if you're an avid rider, you might get like one service with that big service on the V4.
Before you decide
in the entire life, the life of the bike.
So, so definitely probably targeting a couple of different demographics, but also I think there's some crossover there. But both of the bikes,
awesome.
Awesome. I mean, I definitely enjoyed the Multistrada V2S more than the Harley between the two new bikes that I rode.
It's just what we like.
It's just, but it's nothing against Harley. It's just more of the style of bike that I prefer.
Yeah.
Versus a Harley, in general. And not saying that the Harley is bad, but I definitely would be open to trying some of their other models, just to see kind of how they differentiate from how they're different from one another.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, and if I had to categorize like what I think I'm mostly drawn to from bikes is like the European classic parallel twins.
Yeah,
that's like my heaven driving one of those things, you know.
Yeah. So two very different bikes.
Yeah.
Got to try them both. Finally got to try a Harley. So overall, it was a good couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
not bad
that's
at
pretty
all.
Sweet. I can't wait to get back on my bike. I unfortunately have injured myself again, and somehow.
You gotta stop doing that, man.
I'm trying, man. This time I wasn't even doing anything. Just getting old. So I can't really. I'm not in riding shape right now. I can't safely work the controls of the handlebars. So.
Well, maybe next week.
I hope so.
But I think that's it.
Sure.
This episode.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned at the beginning, we'll get to those emails in the next episode.
Hang with us, guys. We apologize.
Yeah. Should we wrap?
Let's do it, I guess. If you guys like the show, you can buy us a coffee, support the show. What was that? Oh, buy me a coffee.
buymeacoffee.com/tdtmotorcycles.
Yep.
Or if you're shopping for motorcycle gear, if you need some new gear.
Springtime.
We also have our Revzilla affiliate link down in the description below. Doesn't cost you anything extra, but does give us a little bit of a kickback if you use the referral link. So
if you're needing new gear or whichever parts, if you use our link, this is the time of year that you're most likely going to find a sale, I think. So
exactly. So, but anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next show.
Yeah, take care.